Well, g'day fishers, welcome to another weekly fishing report, and you can see I've got the good old jumper on. Yep, winter's coming. Winter westerlies this weekend, unfortunately, but they won't stop a lot of people going fishing. Should be the trailer boat weekend, but she's not on this weekend, unfortunately, but hopefully next year it'll revamp and away we go. But there's a lot of people in town for the trailer boat. They're still fishing, which is a good thing. Up and away, so fishing's good. Just the wind's going to be a little bit hard, but hey, let's just give it a go. So inside the bay this week, it's been amazing inside the bay this week. It's been plenty of action, so to speak. We'll start on the upper scale of things, the longtails. Plenty of longtails around in the bay. Three anglers that I know that caught some crackers. Firstly, I'll begin with Guy. He fished land-based. He actually caught four this week land-based inside the bay. We weighed one for him, 17 kilos. So mammoth effort to catch longtails inside the bay, land-based. So he did really well. John Buffy, he finally cracked an absolute beauty, throwing a couple of surface stick baits around and got a nice fish around 25 kilos. And Harley Price, well, he's been mentioned a couple of times in the fishing report over the last few weeks. He's been absolutely slaying them. Again, spinning surface lures and nailing those longtails. Like I said, the big trick is you've got to be stealth. If you go and troll lure through them or go up to them 100 million miles an hour, they will spook straight away. Stealth is the key. So you'll see that. You just got to be patient if you want to try and catch a longtail in the bay. Spoke to Paul off Fishport Stevens Estuary Charters. Again, he's been putting his clients onto the longtails, and he's been getting a couple of dewies in the bay as well as some flatties as well. So the fishing in the bay has been sensational. This weekend with the westerly, you can get out of it in the westerly if you're in a boat. Plenty of corners you can tuck into and get out of that westerly. If you're shore-based, well, the breakwall's been fishing really well. There's been longtails sighted off the breakwall, smashing into the garies each afternoon on the tide changes. There's been luderick on the inside of the breakwall. There's been a few on the outside of the breakwall, so luderick is starting to appear down there. But what you'll find is with these big westerlies, the luderick will sort of start to get a little bit thicker as well. The bream is starting to school up along the breakwall as well, both Nelson Bay and the anchorage. So if you're land-based and you want to get a bait down, I'd be fishing those breakwalls at the moment. A few flatties around as well. Young Kai, he's been nailing the flatties locally on the little beaches there. He's been throwing plastics around, getting some absolute crackers. I saw a photo of one that he released there, well up into the 60, 70 centimetre mark. So well done to young Kai throwing plastics around. Keen young fellow. I think we put a photo up on Instagram there the other week. So if you want to check that out, of a nice flatty he caught. So bay's fishing really well at the moment. It's just those westerlies are going to be a little bit more difficult, but hey, just go and give it a go at the moment. Off the rocks will be a good weekend. If the swell doesn't come up too far, I think it looks pretty good at the moment, but obviously you just don't know. Just go and check it out. But the fishing off the rocks will be really good. If the swell stays down, the water is clear. There's been plenty of big squid around. Plenty of photos I've seen of some absolute monster squid at the moment, so if you're keen on doing that, squid fishing off the rocks may be really good. The water's still warm, so obviously there's still that pelagic action, the mac tuners, the longtails, and if you're keen, you'll spin a couple of nice tailor up, first light, last light. There's been a few kings hanging around the rocks, which at this time of year is a really good time of year to see kings hard up in the shallows there, chasing garies and squid at the moment. Now the beaches, a little bit restricted on the beaches, unfortunately. National Parks have decided to close Barubie off again. Don't ask me why, but anyway, that's their choice. But other beaches, I know Samurai has been fishing well. There's been some actual dew caught off Samurai there over the last week or so during the night. Fingal again's just been sensational this year. There's plenty of good tailor up there at the moment, but whole garfish are the way to go at the moment if you want to target those tailor. There's been some nice bream up the beach as well. So restricted on the beaches, but with the westerlies, Fingal, Samurai, even 1 mile are probably the pick of the beaches this weekend. Now the offshore sea, some good fish caught during the week on the offshore sea. I spoke to my good mate Dom. He got into some really nice reds. He said that the first light and last light was a trick because the water is clear. So very clear but still warm. He had 24 degrees around Broughton on his temp gauge. So there you go. This time of year, amazing. So fishing offshore this weekend, yes, you're going to have the westerlies, but if you can sneak out, just stick to those islands and you should be able to fish okay. With that water being warm, yep, there'll be longtails around. I'd be putting a live bait out for a cobia, one on the bottom, one on the top, get a bit of burley going, you should get a good cobia, and some good kings around. You've probably seen that we posted some photos of some cracking kings, so some really good kings around at the moment if you're keen on doing that. Further offshore, again, I heard of a couple of striped marlin on the shelf. Unfortunately, this weekend might be a no-go on the shelf, but at least there's a few fish hanging around out there at the moment. Now, the local reefs, The big giver, the 21. They might be okay if that wind dies in the afternoon, but there has been some good trag on them. There's been a few reds as well. So all in all, fishing's good. It's just the weather's going to beat us, I think, a little bit this weekend. I had a quick look at the forecast. Maybe Sunday afternoon looks the pick of it all. But anyway, give it a crack. If you're not out there, you're not going to give it a go.